And for the last few years here, 6 years or so, we've been pushing the mining law hard, getting the miners back on track, because you know, folks, that's where the wealth is created, actually. That's why they want to control it and take it. Well, we got to let you know, there's that little small handful of us working real hard, not on everything. I can't do everything. I don't have a solution. I just have what I can do, and the people that I work with, you know, folks, I'm working with people, for the most part, I've never met. And, you know, you can still do things, so don't even think the distance is problem. You can still work. But here's an interesting thing that just popped up on the State of Oregon Water Resources Department website. Something that we went to through our group of people that are working hard behind the scenes, went to the Water Master of Oregon, to the state capitol, and wherever the Water Master sent out his minions or her minions, whoever it is. I don't even know these people. I just know they're, and try to impose. And I want to let you know, folks, if you don't have an idea where to start, just start. You can continue to push and be persistent, and change will happen. This week or so, I came of knowledge that the Oregon State has been fighting miners for a permit and requiring that they get a permit before they go to work in the water of in the waters that were granted. And we kept telling them no. Those waters were granted to the public back in 1866. That's the mining law. And just this week or so, Oregon quietly put on their website this little fact. So those of you that are into this and think water is important and think the government owns it, read this right from I can read this right from the website. I'll give you the link in a bit. Under Oregon law, all water is publicly owned. Now, I'm not going to read to continue because they kind of go off track and they go into permits, but they admit right up front that all water is publicly owned. What they're trying to do there is make you believe that public means state. But you can go to anybody can go tap in the Constitution of Oregon. You find out that the state was actually named where it has the right to have hydropower. Well, that just tells you right now that the public is not the state in 1866. Now, since then, since 1953, it has changed. Public writings are agency writings. So public in that regard means government. But publicly as regards water rights, it means the people, the users, all lawful uses, folks. And here's the state of Oregon saying that the water is all publicly owned by all the users, and then it follows the water rights appropriations. So those are by order of time and chronology. The exception there is that mining rights come before all other rights and have their own appropriations. So they've been trying to tell the miners, and this is where you step up in your place. I'm talking to you about the mining law and water. You can do this wherever you find a problem. You just have to find what the law is, and I'd say go back in the books and find it. We've been telling them we don't need no stinking permit. And certainly comes up on this website in their own words. Gold mining, frequently asked questions. If you don't think you can be a change, folks, be the difference. I'm telling you can. Here's the evidence. One little piece. Will it change the world? No. Will it stop the nonsense? No. Will it boot the insane children and adolescents out? No. But you know what? I got a bunch of miners now that know that this is what we've been telling them is right. Will I need authorization from Oregon Water Resources Department to use water for my mining activity? The answer? In order to divert and use the waters of Oregon? Understand now how they changed that? This is stated straight off their page. It says the waters of Oregon. Remember, the waters went to the public back in 1866. So we got to be very careful on what we read here. But let me read it, and you'll see exactly what I was saying before. Your rights stand if you assert them. In order to divert the use of waters of Oregon, you must first obtain authorization, such as a permit or limited license from the Water Resources Department. In-channel mining activities that affect but do not divert water do not generally require a water use permit. This would include some common mining activities, such as using a sluice box or suction dredge within the wetted perimeter of the stream. There you have it, folks. One acknowledgement of the right. Now, if you use the waters of Oregon, in other words, you're probably a corporation, you don't have such a right. Now, they use a sluice box or suction dredge. Suction dredge is an improper term, but notwithstanding that fact, folks. Again, we'll take what we can get. They acknowledge now that the people have a right to use water. Another question in their mining section of frequently asked questions. Which gold mining activities require authorization from the Water Resources Department? And here again, you have to learn how to read the law to see the lie with the truth within the lie and the lie within the truth. Diversion of water for mining activities outside the wetted perimeter requires a water use authorization. Examples of mining activities outside the wetted perimeter include high banking or placer mining. This type of activity generally requires the use of water to dislodge rock material or move sediment. Since this involves a diversion of use of water, this type of mining would require a water right. Well, folks, in the 1866, Section 8 says, or Section 9, Section 9 says that water is appropriated for all lawful use. The authorization is that law. You don't need no stinking permit to divert water. You have it in the right. Now, what you do have is you have water appropriations that come in time of chronology for the purpose. What they're talking about here is monitors, which tells you that using monitors and those those hydraulic machines that put water out on the banks and wash them away in times of old, it's not illegal. It just means that since the laws in California have proved it, you can't cause damage to your neighbors. And that's the only restriction. You can still use it. But you have the right to divert, but you have a right to divert by appropriation. So here we are. We've won another one, folks. We finally pushed it through. It only took a year and a half. Those of you that are looking for a quick fix, forget it. There's no solution. You're just plugging away and continually plugging away like I do every day when I'm not doing the broadcast today. Let's thumbs up for this one, folks. Give us a round of applause, the hard work of this. You can, too. Please do the difference. Stay tuned.
TeamSpeak.cc is proud to announce that TeamSpeak 3 is now available. TeamSpeak is now more flexible, powerful, and scalable. TeamSpeak software enables people to speak with one another and transfer files over the internet. TeamSpeak represents years of engineering experience and is available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. TeamSpeak.cc has the best integrated solutions for online gamers, virtual worlds, social networks, education, and any environment where up to thousands of users require crystal clear voice communications. Users can finally say goodbye to echo, feedback, and background buzzing noises as the evolution in quality voice communication has arrived. Go to TeamSpeak.cc to find out more. Servers now available and starting at just $2 a month. Remember, that website is TeamSpeak.cc, your total voice-over IP solutions provider. TeamSpeak.cc.
Amazon.com has become a leader in online retail and is a place where people can find and discover virtually anything they want to buy. Amazon offers thousands of products including
books, movies, and music,
full range of electronics,
computer and office,
sports and outdoors,
dry, storable, and organic foods,
health and wellness,
survival and tactical gear,
home and garden, and much more.
Amazon not only offers over 10,000 online products, but also operates retail websites and offers programs that enable you to sell your products online.
By making your purchases through Amazon.oraclebroadcasting.com, a portion of each purchase goes to the Oracle Broadcasting Network.
Find great prices on hard-to-find items and help support Oracle Broadcasting at the same time. That website again is Amazon.oraclebroadcasting.com.
With natural and man-made disasters and economic turmoil, if we don't get well prepared, we will most certainly regret it. Much of the storable food available is full of bad fats, salt, sugar, nutrient-poor refined food, and even MSG. In response, EnerHealth Botanicals have created our 40-day, 40-night, 100% organic preparedness pail. It's GMO-free, 10 to 20-year shelf life. The pail contains enough whole food and nutrition for one person to survive well for 40 days and nights, with recipes too. Some of the items need cooking, some can be eaten dry, while some can be soaked and sprouted. The pail includes organic rolled oats, millet, brown rice, green lentils, garbanzo beans, black beans, pinto beans, quinoa, pancake mix, non-fat powdered milk, sprout blend, sprouted sunflower seeds, organic food, chia seeds, miso powder, and a Cajun spice blend to give some flavor to your meals. This is 100% organic. This is the way to get prepared. Call today, 866-762-9238, or go to enerfood.com.
This is the Oracle Broadcasting Network, the home of cutting-edge talk radio.
And thank you for tuning in today Behind the Woodshed, folks. You know, again, it's just that this week was a little bit here, a little bit there. We'll get the big wins. We will probably never get the big wins. For as many wins as we get, we seem to have these setbacks, which I actually, folks, I just tell you, what apparent setbacks really end up being opportunities the more I'm looking at a lot of this. It also helps to fend off the hopelessness issue. When you always think you never give up, folks, always be persistent. Well, another thing that's going on, and this is the work that I do is researching the laws and mining laws, how to apply it, and I'm also involved with the mining associations. There you are. Now you know you can't do it by yourself. If we didn't have a small crew of people working vigilantly or behind the scenes to go in lots of places like the state capitol, talk to representatives, to the congressmen, the federal side, the state agencies, their little minions that come in and try and threaten your water rights, and then like they did in our mining association meeting, I turned around and I gave them a reverse notice saying, don't you dare trespass my water rights. You're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. Put her on notice in a public meeting. So there you go. You can't let them you can't give an inch. Subsequently, now we got that water rights. Well, there's another thing that's been going on, and you hear me talk about this, but another little things popping up here and there through the work of what I do and with the association now. With the association, I research and author paperwork that the association submits to the local jurisdiction, the 8 officers. And I've been telling you about the Sheriff Gilbertson issue, or right before him, it was Sheriff Palmer up in Grant County. Well, today, I was, not today, but a couple days ago, I was given an email that was sent in response to a miner's request. Now we won't go from the water now that you have rights. And I'm just saying, it's not just miners. This is everybody with a lawful use of water, subject to the appropriations rights. And you're going to then have to battle probably the states because they went and they claimed up water for fish, which has to be might have to be challenged. But notwithstanding all that, a miner went back to Sheriff Palmer, who completely foreclosed the Forest Service, did absolutely what he needed to do, actually violated, in fact, not violated, but voided or did not reaccept a contract for federal monies. And that's where it is. Now you're going to find the consistent contingency connection on taking federal funds. Sheriff Palmer apparently knows this, and he's apparently knowing a whole little bit more. And I wanted to read this to you to show you where we've been going on this and how it's going to continue to work and what you can do too. And I'm doing this in the mining law, and the mining law touches water, it touches land, it touches soil, it touches wealth, minerals, it touches livelihood, it touches highways, it touches access, it touches lots of things that you would think that would have been since long decided in a free country. That's why I bring up and tell you live in an occupied territory. And you hear the news daily about how that's the fact. So I'm not going to let that, yes, it's a hassle and there's not much I can do about the overall, but I can make my little bit. I can hold on, I can put my toe holds in the wall of the stinking abyss, and I can hold myself steady or maybe climb out just a little bit and get other people to do the same thing. Again, there's an example here. And so there's this example that we've been putting out there about highways and this issue with the Forest Service and getting our land back and getting people back to work. It's not just about mining. It goes into timber and everything else. And so what came across my desk here, the electronic desk that I've got, was a letter from a miner to Glenn Palmer who has completely told the Forest Service, stay out unless you have some lawful business. I don't want to see you around doing law enforcement. And because he's found out through the work we've been doing and some other people that there is no Forest Service law enforcement at the point of interrupting your right to travel in the highways and go to work, even though they are. This letter from a miner, I'll keep his name quiet here, and I won't be able to give you a link for it. Just read it to you. I was wondering, he says, how I could get some help with the way the government is taking access from public lands away from us. Everywhere I go in the woods lately, there are roads that are blocked off. They are turning rivers into scenic waterways and keeping them from me mining my gold claim. Not only are they taking my rights away, but they are taking the rights away from my children and my grandchildren. My son asked his grandfather why the United States Forest Service is putting gates on a lot of roads that we tried to go on. There it is. It's closing off. And I'm going to tell you, folks, I just got a call from our writings from one miner in Alaska. The Forest Service is actually destroying miners' equipment and then hauling it out by helicopter. So this is a wide-ranging problem. These people are rabid and they need to be stopped, and only you can step up. And so this is what we're doing, or wherever you can. Wherever rights you see a wrong, you have to right it. Otherwise, it continues. The letter goes on to ask, I come across this article in the newsletter of the Eastern Oregon Mining Association called Forest Service Has Forgotten the Organic Act of 1897. It goes on to say here that according to the Organic Act, it allows people within the counties, territory where such reservations may be located, free use of wood, stone, and other resources that we need for our homes. It also allows us to access to get to those resources. The law mandates a permanent supply of timber for the people and pasturing of livestock. Baker, Grant, and Union were counties long before the national forests were reserved out of the land, that when then the land was open for homesteading. The counties only allowed this land to become part of the national forest and taken out of the tax base also for the local counties, because the local people would be protected under the law. Ranchers would continue to graze livestock. Local people could use the forest resources, and the forest would be managed for timber production to support the county schools and roads. Now, take a good look at what the Forest Service has done to us, being non-existent, and no timber receipts go to the county anymore. Mismanagement and no management have left us without the use of our national forests. There is a federal law called 2477 Roads, which states that once the public travels on a road, it shall be retained as a public road. So why is the Forest Service closing all these roads? Can you please help us answer my grandson's question? Why can't we go on these roads? Well, 2477 is a revised statute for the Section 8 Section 8 clause of the 1866 Act for the construction of highways. Construction of highways was, once you constructed it, that was exactly the fact. They were constructed and granted. And when you made one, you got the right to use it. Sheriff Palmer's answer was very interesting. I want people to listen to this. I hope I can get this through this. I don't know that that I have a quick fix to this. It took them a little over 100 years to screw it up and us off the public land. So undoing it is going to take some time, patience, and work. I ask that you contact your local representatives, sheriffs, and county officials where you mine, live, and recreate. Even if it is in several of the counties, they all need to band together and start pushing back a little, and maybe we can take our lands back to some sort of acceptable level. I'm headed to a training today at Grants Pass to learn a bit more about this public land issue. Maybe I can have a better answer for you, and I'll have another comment about that. It's the coordination plan that Fred Kelly Grant gave just yesterday. Fascinating what comes up there along the public land and roads access. One last thing, if you keep signing permits, this is Sheriff Palmer out of Grant County, if you keep signing permits that limit and restrict you, you are agreeing to play by their rules. Same with the wood permits and other documents such as driver's licenses, hunting licenses, etc. You entered an agreement and contract with them to play by their rules. Get involved and get informed and get our lands back to whom they belong, the people. Signed, Sheriff Palmer. Folks, I don't know if you got that right. Yes, you did hear it right. Go back and read the archives if you think you didn't hear it right. You signed the applications for driver's license and hunting license and what all, and you have to play by their rules, the federal rule, the state rule, the foreign rule. And you abandon your right of access, your right of the fish, the right of piscari, the right to take food and sustenance. Think about this, what that just said there. Think about what we're on the front edge of. And, folks, you can be the difference. All you have to do is step up and keep pushing and don't stop. Freedom's not free. That's the paradox of freedom, isn't it? Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in Behind the Woodshed, folks. You know, again, I say there is no solution. I guess what I'm saying is that there's not going to be one answer to this thing. Any solution really it's an ongoing awareness shift and an ongoing look at the world and saying, do we want to continue in this or do we want to move on to something better? I find myself in a very interesting position to understand about property and how it's collected and the importance of it and how it offers some immunity, if you will. And you're seeing this. You heard what the Sheriff Palmer says. If the taking of an application, this is nothing new. You've heard me talk about this for years behind the woodshed, explaining how this works. Applying means as an applique, you stick it to yourself. It's just what Sheriff Palmer just confirmed to us. So this is nothing new, and this is not out of the ordinary. It's just out of the ordinary for people who have lived all their lives underneath the thumb of an occupier and didn't have the blessing as I did to have the rose-colored glasses slapped off their face. And ironically, happened on a highway. So here we have, you heard reference to this meeting, the coordination meeting that was presented by Fred Kelly Grant. And we talked about coordination also behind the woodshed. You have to understand the power of these meetings, this coordination plan. Every county has to have one. And for those of you that have public lands or those that have access to public lands in your county, you need to get those in because they will give you your people, all the people in any district, any governmental use, anything, anyone who's affected has a right to sit at the table as equals, not as a subordinate to the federal will. And so this is what the coordination meeting was, and this is where Sheriff Palmer was apparently going, although I'm not talking from talking to him. I just know the itinerary, and I know I have after-the-fact proof of things. So I just let you know this is what happened this weekend. But from one of the miners that goes, again, a small band of people working to be in the places we need to be and finding out where those places are. It's a lot of work, actually. But I do not choose, and I hope you are with me, this little drop of water on the pavement by myself in the summer heat will be gone in moments. But I choose to find people that are going to be with me to move back into a place that kind of a government, a way of life that I understand. Because to tell you the truth, all this world is just too big for me. My pea brain can't keep up with all of it. What I find out is that it can't keep up with all the garbage, all the lies, all the deception. It doesn't understand that, and that's just one of those weaknesses I have, and I have to deal with that. So I have to figure out ways to make the world a little bit more understandable to me. I found a bright line in the mining law, and it works right where I live. So this has been a long time, a long group of people getting together, and it doesn't take a whole lot, but it just takes a tireless effort. So one more miner comes forward. He went to this coordination plan, found an interesting issue, something that I have already authored into responses, an objection to the Secretary of Interior a couple of years ago. Asserting the miners, the unassociated miners, to tell you how much power property and land have, folks, unassociated miners that are not within a district are their own district. They're unassociated mining districts, each one of them. And a mining district, any district, has coordination power before the federal government, equal sitting at the table. So this is something I've been pushing quietly behind the scenes, right in front of everybody, but behind the scenes, if you will, because these are concepts that people have to come on to. In other words, that's why I don't tell a lot of stuff behind the woodshed too technical, because it just would be lost, and I don't want to do that because it's just that no one gets anything out of it. But as you find need, you will understand more, and that's why the only way you can do that is apply what knowledge you have, and then keep pushing and get more knowledge. And I told you, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. People come to you, and you find yourself in places where you can help other people. And this miner makes a report about that meeting, the coordination plan. And this was done in Grants Pass, but he was commenting about someone who made a comment out of Coos Bay, Oregon. Someone in Coos Bay asked Fred Kelly Grant what they should do if their county wasn't interested in pursuing coordination. Fred Kelly Grant stated that under federal law, the agencies are required to coordinate, not cooperate. Be very careful on this distinction. To coordinate, that's the requirement, to coordinate with any organized element of local government, and that they were not limited to just the county. He went on to say, Fred Kelly Grant did, that small towns and even districts, such as fire, irrigation, library, can ask to coordinate. Coordinate, folks, not cooperate. You got to make that distinction. You'll find everything out of 821 will reduce everything to cooperation and consensus. This is equal power. At the next break, the miner pulled him aside and said, "You said that irrigation, fire, and other districts have authority to establish coordination. What about mining districts?" Fred Kelly Grant said, quote, "Absolutely. Mining districts are a form of local government," close quote. Now, folks, I got to just point out, there's a little bit more to say. Do you understand the power of a miner that you have when you come together as a miner and you are a local form of your own government? You can't do that without that power inherent in you. And now we're looking at inherency, antecedent powers. You're looking at the power of the government granting to the people who possess that power full right to exercise it. Fred Kelly Grant, as the miner explains, is a retired United States attorney educated at Chicago University of Law, and more or less he confirmed what we've always claimed, that we have authority and jurisdiction. Absolutely, folks. I've got hats that I made up to convey this idea years and years ago. Mineral estate grantee, vested authority and jurisdiction since July 26, 1866, as I'm reading right from the top of the hat, because I couldn't remember that. Folks, this has been years now I've been saying this, and it's confirmed. The power is in the people. You just need to find out where it's been put to exercise. The miner goes on to explain about the meeting. I think this is major because ultimately, if we can get back to our local customs, reestablish an organized district, we then have the power to bypass the hijacked county coordination committee and force BLM, United States Forest Service, and other agencies to the coordination table. And these agencies are required to, by law, to work with us. The miner goes on to observe something different here. Remember, Palmer was saying that if you get a driver's license, you have to play by their rules. Remember, every state has the fact that the highway is traveled as a matter of right. I'm telling you that it came from at least this 1866 act. There was other acts that happened before, like in 1853, I believe, and one in 1851 that did the very same thing, but the 1866 gives it to all lawful uses, the highway. That's why all states have to recognize the right of travel on the highway, and you finally find that in the definition of highway, and it says you have the right to travel as a matter of right. This is what I'm talking about. This is not some weird idea, some right-wing patriot tin hat, foil hat. This has been in the law for us to watch and see. It just got twisted because those that are in power and control don't want you to know this stuff. But the miner goes on to here to talk about the other sheriff, Sheriff Gilbertson, and he was in attendance, and he asked all present to come to him with historic maps or evidence for the purpose of reclaiming old roads and trails. And so this miner is going to be working heavily on that. We are always doing that. This is a seed that was dropped upon this sheriff, that the highways were going to give another power. Once you understand the mining power, the right of the soil. Folks, anybody who lives on a piece of land that has been deeded, if you will, or granted is what it is actually, granted to the landowner is a patentee or an assignee or by contract. You all have this power. The power is in our hands. The solution, if there is not one solution. It's everybody just working. That's not really a solution. It just means that you got to take responsibility for this stuff. But Sheriff Gilbertson is now looking to these old roads and trails. Just what we've been pressing to show that the highways are traveled as a matter of right, not by license. The users in the Oregon statute are shown that there's notwithstanding the fact of the county not taking on the acceptance of maintenance, does not impinge upon or interfere at all with the rights of the users of the roads that made them. And that's all your forebearers, folks, if you understand what we're saying here. That once these roads and highways are created, they're forever created. It takes literally an act of Congress, in this case delegated to the counties, to actually change a dedication. And all they can do then is make provisions for a different dedication in case there's a better need someplace else. So there's very powerful stuff here. If you're looking for things to do, start considering these things. Take your mind out of what all the damage, all the families, and we hear it doesn't even come to my mind here. Who is it? The Rockefellers and all these other people and the Jews and all this. Folks, it's you. Don't be a victim. Step up into what we were supposed to do. Freedom was not free. Go back and grab what's already sitting there that someone's hiding from you. That's a solution, I guess. But see, that's not a solution. That's just you stepping up and doing something we should have been doing all along. Stay tuned. And thank you for tuning in today Behind the Woodshed, folks. Scorpio NorCal in the chat room makes a comment about the fact of, in Oregon, what happens is they can raise the percentage of property tax no matter whether or not the property values drop. Well, I think most all jurisdictions can do that. This is just one more of those things you start finding out. But I want to point out something. We're talking about granted things. Highway grants. We're talking property grants. We're talking about the power of the government given into the people that accepted those grants, whether they be by the actual homestead or not. Understand that the states, the corporate state, as you can find for yourself, exists. They have created a veneer of authority in government. And what they tax is not patent land or granted property. They can't. In fact, the best the county can do with a highway is accept the maintenance costs, and that's it. They can't interfere with the rights of the underlying creators of that or the users of that dedicated public domain. What the states do is they tax something called real property. Again, we're back into legal, not law. Legal is a term. They can make a blue mean green, white mean gray. They can mean legal is just whatever you find as a definition. A taxable property in the state, that corporate state, is called real property. And we do it to ourselves. We go and register this property, and we only transfer deeds, which are not the patent land, and we never accept and never acquire the patent rights. So we accept lesser rights. And so when we finally learn this as a people, we'll learn how they do it to us. We'll get a little bit more square with that, and we're going to start to be able to start asserting what I'm doing in the mining world, if you will, the mining law. It's not the mining world either, as I say that. Most corporations with lawyers don't have a clue about what we're doing. The fact they think that I'm a nut. But they all want to know how we're getting into the courts, because they can't figure out how to get into the courts like we are. So I find this dichotomy fascinating. I also find it fascinating when you get into courts and you're doing it right, how the judges will shut us down too, as they just did this week, which is just fascinating to watch the corruption and why and where it all happens. So I'm not saying that's why I say this is not a solution. This is you stepping up and get ready to. Better put on your armor, folks. It's going to be spiritual, physical, and mental armor. You have to be armored up, no doubt. And what was amazing, I don't say this too much, but one short life past, that's what I did for about 7 years. I was a medieval armorer. I actually literally made medieval armor to fight in, kind of like safety equipment for a medieval warrior. And so that's kind of an interesting reflection of what I kind of do. What I try to do now is I try to tell you what you're going to need to armor up. So head out and go take your lands back, folks. This is up to you. And it won't take everybody. I'm telling you, it's just taking a small handful of people. And the changes are happening, like this one, out of the blue, folks. I don't know that we have anything to say about this. I did tell you, though, we've written letters. We've asserted, as a mining association, I authored a paper that asserted the right of a district coordination power a year and a half ago, and against this very same guy who was trying to take land away from miners and people and horseback riders and fishermen and enjoyers of herbs and everything else, and firewood cutters and just people who just want to see the scenery. These people want to lock you out. But all of a sudden, out of the blue, just nowhere, I don't know where these people come from to come and change this. Have we had some effect on this? Well, I have a funny feeling we might, but I can't prove it. But listen to this. Environmentalists mad at Oregon Democrat over bill to overturn logging road ruling. It's fascinating what happens when you start asserting law. And I don't know, but listen, environmentalists are angry with Senator Ron Wyden over his bill that would reverse a federal appeals court ruling to increase regulation of logging roads on private as well as public lands. Understand you live in a occupied territory when they can come after your private lands. But those aren't really private if you understand how this is working. The Oregonian reported Wednesday the Oregon Democrat has proposed a bill giving logging roads the same exemption from the Clean Water Act that farms enjoy for irrigation runoff. Oregon Wild Conservation Director Steve Pederi said Wyden's bill came as, quote, a bolt out of the blue from someone that they have worked with in the past. Boy, I can't tell you how close they are working, hand in glove. This is certainly a bolt out of the blue. Wyden notes that fellow Democrat Governor John Kitzhaber is also concerned the ruling could harm Oregon's timber industry. The governor is appealing the ruling to the United States Supreme Court. Folks, I can only tell you that we've got people talking to these people big time, writing letters, telling them what the law is. I told you we got the timber industry is now suing under the ONC Act for the breach of the contract for production. The economy has gotten so bad that even the Democrats are having to capitulate. And to me, it's they're one or the other. You see the problem with the GOP; they're just as bad on the other side. So again, I don't know about this right wing, left wing, GOP, Democrat. They're a bunch of. I just look at the horde of trespassers. They're all part of the infiltrators and the ones that have surrounded us. And now it's getting so bad they're having to answer for it. And I can only tell you behind the scenes, I don't know what happened here, but I think they're learning a little bit about what the law is going to be coming down on them. And I think they're finding out that the environmentalists have pushed it way too far. Now, what I find interesting is this talks to logging roads. Haul roads are not part of what I'm talking about. Logging haul roads are not what I'm talking about. And so you have to understand how to read this, too. And this is kind of a fascination to me, how the media will tell you this stuff, and if you know what you're looking at, it tells you a whole different story anyway.